In this video, I want to talk a little bit about the unusual VA home loan qualification rule after a business bankruptcy. In other words, if you've owned a business and the business failed and you had to file bankruptcy and you're trying to buy a house after the bankruptcy, there is a very specific VA guideline that actually allows you to buy the house early. In other words, the waiting periods can get reduced. And I found out about this recently because I had someone that watched my other bankruptcy videos and we had a whole discussion about it. And I actually ended up looking at the guidelines and found out some very specific rules. And I'm going to go through those rules. So make sure to stick around to the end of this video so that way you'll know the rules as well. The other thing that's interesting to note here is this actually also applies to FHA. So if you're not a veteran, or maybe you know someone that's not a veteran that also needs to know this information, anybody can get it. Either VA or FHA, this rule could apply. And so the advantage of what we're going to talk about today is there is a reduced waiting period if the business failure caused the bankruptcy. Now, at the very end of this video, I'm going to show some very specific rules you have to keep in mind to make this work. Now, this is what's called an extenuating circumstance. VA and FHA have extenuating circumstance rules, which would actually create reduced waiting periods, and that's what we're going to go through today. Now, just to keep in mind, there are lender overlays. A lender overlay is a rule over and above what the VA requires, and so not all lenders would let you do that. Sometimes the lender will say, you know what, yeah, we know that there's a VA rule saying this, but we have our own rules over and above what the VA requires. And also, you get working with an expert, higher than 10% essential for this type of thing. You can't be working with the newbies and rookies for this type of thing because this is a very complex type of thing, and not everybody knows how to do them. Working with a mortgage broker, I always recommend working with a mortgage broker anyway, but it's essential for doing this type of transaction because expert guidance completely needed. Now, before I explain the reduced waiting periods, you have to understand what the waiting periods are normally so you know what they get reduced to, right? So let's define the waiting period first. And the waiting period would be from the bankruptcy date to the close date. Now, I did not say application date because the application date is not the close date. It would be the date that you actually close on that house purchase. Now, you can apply and go under contract before the closing date. You just have to push the closing date back to after that waiting period has expired. Now, as far as the different types of bankruptcy, the date that the waiting periods start depends on the type of bankruptcy, and again, if there's extenuating circumstance.